We have different norms like French and English have. The commas are, the full stop replaces a comma in French, for example, to show a number. So 10,000 will be 10 full stop 000. Similarly in Marathi, 5,700 is not written with any comma at all. The engine has to learn how to handle all these complexities. Time translation. So for example, you are moving from, I'm sorry, the Telugu has been eaten up. The character representation is not possible here. But when you are moving from say Hindi to Telugu, you are again going to have problems with morphology. So the engine also has to handle, we have created cases of that type also to test whether the engine can handle all these complexities of name entity. Now coming to semantics, which is a problem for all machine translation systems. Now you can see your ambiguity. And I don't have to go into this example in English above. And here you can see the tourist पर्यटक लेटे guide से बात कर रहा था. So you don't know whether who is लेटे is the tourist sleeping or reclining was talking to the guide. That could in Hindi this could be interpreted as the guide was reclining or the tourist was reclining. Engine has to try to disambiguate this problem. Your ill-formed sentences which are ungrammatical or not in consonance with the rules of the language. For example, you can find this. Hindi people do write in different manners. The engine has to learn how to translate from Hindi to English even if it is slightly grammatical. In Hindi, for example, there are ways of writing the past form. You can write in two ways, either A or a Ye. So problem of Sandhi. So A or A, both are right. Both mark the past tense. One is rather archaic, one is modern. People use both. Your idioms, where it is very, very difficult. Hindi abounds in idioms. All Indian languages have extremely complex, not phrasal verbs, but phrasal structures. Now, an engine has to handle and know that there is a collocative idiom which can be inflected inside, and therefore the engine has to be able to find this is an idiom and provide for it an accurate translation. ProMT handles idioms to a large extent, moving from German, or I tested for both German and French, does an excellent job. So, the engines theoretically in Indian languages, also when moving from Hindi say to English, has to be able to handle idioms. In Hindi, idioms are practically Gujarati also. This is a major feature in Indian languages. This is the largest collocative unit, probs. Very, very difficult to handle. And not seen yet any engine handling this. Very, very few can handle. Your polysemy, as you are aware, that is one word having multiple meanings. So you can have a lexical polysemy. So for example, chal chalna, here you have got an example. Run, the machine is running, John is running, and you can't translate both in Hindi in the same way. Or in French for that example. One will be marcher, one will be courir. Yeah. So same thing would happen in German. Now we have a grammatical polysemy where a single word can acquire a whole set of meanings. Here you have got ek in Hindi. This is a problem in English also. For example, I saw today morning gained was translated as a participle instead of the past tense. In French it was aki instead of aki. So you have similar problems here. These are some common grounds which Hindi shares with all. Finally, this is an Indo-European language. It shares with all Indo-European family this type of grammatical polysemy. So you can see the word one can be a noun, it can be a pronoun, and it can also be an adjective. Funnily enough, you see a similar structure in English. One can say this, I saw one, I read one book, or I bought one something, bought one apple, and so you can see something similar. This is a problem in a majority of translation systems where they all flop. Now this is the case of pragmatics. So I'm using it in a very loose sense as essentially dealing with problems of rhetoric, although in the strict sense it has much more. It involves doublets, styles, figures of speech, affective speech acts, rhetorics, topic and commentary. I'm not going much into it because we don't have much time, but all languages have this. You can have a verb, for example in Hindi, and you can have a stylistic variant of the verb. So the engine has to know that these two have to be translated in two different ways, for example. So, for example, ladna, to fight. Ladai karna is to, you would say, say in French, livrer combat.
To
You have to fight back. These stylistic differences which are there, and the engine has to be able to handle that fine nuances which exist within the language. Same thing, tyagna and tyag dena. Tyagna is to give up. Tyag dena is to sacrifice oneself. Although they look alike, they are extremely different. This is what we call as stylistic doublets which exist. Now you have got in Indian languages, this is one of the major problems which are known as alankara. Alankara means ornamentation. And we use a lot of ornamentation. It's an old Sanskrit thing. And some of the best examples are here. You can see the beauty of Urdu. I'll just facilitate you. I don't know whether it will mean much. You can see फितरत में हुस्न मुनाजिर की कमी नहीं. खुशनुमा फूल, रंगीन पौधे, बेलें, कलियां खिलते हुए फूलों पर मंडराती हैं. Now you can see this. Simply it means फितरत में हुस्न मुनाजिर की कमी नहीं. There is no lack of beauty in nature. But you can see the beautiful language which has been used in Urdu coming from Perso-Arabic loans. Now the machine has to be able to handle these stylistics. Urdu is one of the most complex languages in that sense, because you have to handle very poetic language, and it's just not used in colloquial in day-to-day use. Also you will encounter this. This creates a specific problem. Incidentally, this is machine translated. We have done it from Urdu straight into Hindi. You can see here, this is not done by hand. We have done it straight. There are a couple of errors. If we had a Hindi speaker here, he would immediately raise his hand and said, no, this is wrong. I agree, but it's a machine. So the range is up to 98% accuracy moving from Urdu to Hindi. Now, speech acts, I've just limited myself to exclamatory discourse. I'm taking also in a very, very generic term, the speech acts, vocatives, exclamations, surprise, plaudits, joy, etc. All of these have to be handled. To our surprise, we found quite a few systems, even sophisticated ones, don't do this type of thing. Exclamations are very difficult to translate from one language to another. You don't normally have glosses for them. And even the more sophisticated systems like Systrand or ProMT have not been able to handle this. I was surprised myself. I thought it would be the easiest thing on earth to translate an interjection, an exclamation, but it doesn't seem to work out. This is something which is very typical to Indian language. It is what we call Dhvani Atmaka or onomatopoeia, and we use it extensively. And this is something which is very, very difficult to handle. I don't think you have this in other languages. I've already seen it. Although you have in French, like glou glou, for example, or water flowing or water boiling, the glou glou, low glou glou, for example. But Hindi and Indian languages have this very, very extensively. So for the rain falling, we use a word like rim jim or jum jum, depending upon the intensity of the rain which is falling. You can see that. For a drum, for example, you can have dugu dugu, dhol, dum dum, etc. You can keep on playing on it, and each onomatopoeia has a different value, which only a Hindi speaker is aware of. Translating is a practical impossibility. This is the highest range of translation. Even a native translator will have difficulty because there is no equivalent gloss existing in his mother tongue, unless you are moving from cognates to cognates. Gujarati will do this very easily. Finally, I'm coming into slightly more stylistic issues. I won't go into them for lack of time. Something called object fronting, then displacement of object to SVO position, placement of verb in first position, ironical effects. This is important. You can see irony operating by just, I was talking to you about SVO. You can see here, kar chuke aap meri madad. See, this kar chuke aap meri madad can be understood as you have helped me. But if this sentence is really ironical because I pushed kar chuke, the verb has come into first position. So you really have helped me. It means you have been of great help to me. You haven't helped me at all. Now a machine translation system cannot handle this. It will just think that the verb has been fronted, and for stylistic effect the guy has put it. It will say you helped me a lot. Actually it means you haven't helped me at all. Discourse, again other issues, because in Indian languages like French we have something known as discours libre. We have free direct speech, and this is a peculiarity of Indian language. You can have direct reported speech